So I have to tell you this story. Years ago, I was listening to a podcast by Ian Morgan Cron, and if you know, you know. He's the one that wrote The Road Back to You, and he was having an interview with Pastor John Mark Comer. And if you've ever listened to John Mark, you know his voice is just this calm, wise, soothing thing that somehow manages to lovingly call you out at the same time. But they're having this conversation, and he starts describing to Ian what it's like to be a type 1 on the Enneagram. And y'all, I have never felt more seen and understood in my life. It was like someone finally opened the window and said, "Hey Mindy, this is why your brain never shuts off." And I remember just breaking down crying as I'm driving my car to go pick up my son, and he was talking about that inner critic that never takes a day off, and the one that's constantly pointing out what you could have done better. And I was like, oh, that's not just me being intense, that's me being a type 1. And I remember pausing the podcast, literally pausing and saying out loud, "Okay, Lord, this is either a revelation or some type of personal attack," because I felt all kinds of things. I felt exposed, I felt vulnerable. So it was probably all of the above. But something in me shifted that day, because all the things I thought were just quirks or flaws or me just being too much suddenly made sense. It didn't excuse the things that I did, but it explained them. And it gave me so much more compassion and grace for myself, which is very difficult. Fast forward a couple years later, and I started noticing the same kind of growth happening in the people around me. My husband, my kids, friends who finally understood their patterns, coworkers who stopped taking everything personally, or we were learning how to communicate better with each other, and leaders who started communicating clarity instead of control. And it just was transforming our lives and relationships around us. And I thought, I can't just keep this to myself. So I took a deep dive, and I got trained, and I became a certified Enneagram coach. I felt like this fit into who I am, who I've always been. And because this tool didn't just give me language for who I am, but it helped me love people better, to help me understand them better. And I want that for you too. So if you've been curious about why you do what you do, or why you keep running into the same frustration, just start with a free Enneagram assessment. That is not the beginning and the end. It is just the start. So don't stop there. Then when you're ready, let's go deeper through a discovery call or a coaching session or a series of coaching sessions, because once you start seeing yourself clearly, everything, and I mean everything, starts to change.